Hi, this is Deborah from The Labyrinth, and I've had some requests from some viewers that would like to know more about a coven. I did a video recently just giving an overview of it. Well, I finally dug out my stuff from when I had a coven. And our coven was named the Crossroads Coven, and it was birthed on March 31st, 1999. It kind of dissolved a little bit. The members still talk to each other, the founding members, but as far as getting together and doing ritual, it was put on hold, dissolved, all that. People moved away, their lives changed. But anyway, I found the paperwork and I want to give you some detailed information of what we did. And this took us 6 months to formulate. So if you're going to have a coven, get together with a small group of people, not a big group of people, because if the more people, the more dynamics, the more screw-ups, the more problems. Start with about 3 or 4 people. And those will be the founding members of the coven. And you can discuss why you're getting together, when you're getting together, and what you're doing when you're together. So what I'm going to tell you today about our coven, there's going to be written information on the drop-down box that you can print out for yourself. You don't have to go word for word, but it's a good outline. So what we did is we held ceremonies on the day of the moons and the holidays, and we also had a time, 8 o'clock. People get off of work, 8 o'clock. Our philosophy, we had that, which was we are witches. We recognize and celebrate the wheel of the year, and we celebrate deity, which we defined as God, goddess, light, spirit, etc. We were concerned with everyone's spiritual growth, continued education, and positive magical workings, and we adhere to our code of ethics. Now, we had a code of ethics because before we had the coven, we were in other covens, and we saw the mess-ups. We saw what we didn't like. We saw what didn't resonate with us as far as ethical values. So we came up with a code of ethics, and this is our code of ethics. We valued and respected all life. We had reverence to deity at all times and must be maintained. The reason we put that in is because we went to other covens and we saw other people and heard other people putting down other religions, and we didn't agree with that. It doesn't matter if you're Catholic, Jewish, Wiccan, pagan, or whatever. You don't put down someone's belief system. We didn't agree with that. Value your own word and stick to your word. Don't say you're going to do something, then not do it. We saw that too. We didn't like that, so we put that in there. Magic and healing is done for others only when asked for your help. You don't just willy-nilly go whip the wand over somebody. No. There are exceptions to that, but basically no. Respect the threefold law, which is whatever you send out, you're going to get back 3 times worse or more. Circle is used as a place of worship and practice of magic. It's not used to drink beer and smoke pot. It's not used for orgies. It's not used to throw trash in the fire or have a drumming circle. No, we used our circle for worship and practice of magic only. And also, do what you will, harm none. That means do not bend someone else's will to yours. Okay, that's a no-no. Then we had circle etiquette because we watched some morons come into circle and just be rude. We didn't like the rudeness. We didn't like they weren't taking it seriously, we thought. So what we did is we ring a bell in the beginning to signal that the ceremony is about to begin. So everyone would go to the east gate, which is the east direction of people coming into the circle to get saged. So once the bell was rung, that means shut up. You can't have people yipping and yapping and talking as you got people with sage waiting for people to come in. No. You have to shut up, all right? The next one was ceremony and ritual. Be appropriately dressed. We didn't care for the nudity. We felt it was not necessary. We don't think that you should wear a bathrobe to ritual. We actually saw that. A guy wearing a woman's short bathrobe. Something like Muhammad Ali or one of these fighters would wear. No, that was disrespectful. If you're going to have ritual clothes, wear ritual clothes. The next thing we had was if someone comes from another group and wants to attend, the approval must be obtained from the priestess or the priest of the other group, because we ran into this problem, okay? We had coven members from one coven going to another without telling them, and then there's a witch war going on because of that. So in order to alleviate that, you got to bring a friggin' permission slip, okay, if you're in another group. Circle is used for a place of worship and practice of magic. Sexual harassment and sexual misconduct will not be tolerated in circle, included in inter-coven gatherings. You are a representation of the coven, and you will conduct yourself appropriately. That means you don't get naked in sweat lodge with teenagers. No, we didn't like that. We saw that. You wouldn't believe the horror stories we saw. So you know what? You have to treat this with respect if you're going to be serious about it. I'm not saying that that's, to be in a swingers club. I'm not here to judge anybody, but go to a swingers club. You don't do it in a circle that's meant for religious purposes. Then we had miscellaneous guidelines. Any decision that was made for the coven had to be a unanimous decision by the elders. We had to discuss the working rules one night and then vote on it the next night at the next meeting. If you're using a particular god or goddess energy, it should be researched and presented to the coven elders as to how it is going to be involved in that particular ceremony. The vote has to be unanimous by the elders as to whether the energies represented by the deity are fully understood by the person invoking the deity. You're not going to just willy-nilly invoke something you don't know nothing about what it's about and how you're going to apply it, duh. A mentor system for new people. If there's a new person coming in, an experienced coven member would partner up with them to give them the etiquette rules, to give them, hey, what to do, where to stand, what to say, blah, 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 so that they don't feel like they're, floating in the wind, makes them feel a little more comfortable, and it can circumvent a lot of stupid behavior. Must be at least 21 years of age. The reason we had this is because we had ceremonial wine. We don't want to get in trouble with any parents or by the law, no. No copies of anything that had to do with the ceremony was to leave our hand unless you were a member. This was private. Most times when we had a ceremony and if something was typed out, at the end of the ceremony, it was after the ceremony, the circle was closed, they were thrown in the fire. The only ones that kept copies of the ritual was me, and I have them in a book. That's what I did. So only double-bladed atames allowed in circle. No single-bladed knives. No hunting knives, no gemstone or rock knives, no buck knives, no steak knives. No, it had to be a ritual knife, double-bladed, which is what is required in the Wiccan ceremony. Prior to and during ceremony, no behavior-altering substances. In other words, don't come to circle fucked up. A lot of people have a misconception that when you are on an altered substance, you can reach nirvana. No, you can't. Your vibration will only get so high. It actually hinders you from going higher. We have a glass of wine while we're in the circle when we have our great rite, but no, you don't come to circle fucked up. You could do that later. You have to, no. If you bring someone to the ceremony as a guest, you are responsible to explain to that person the etiquette if they've never attended before. In other words, we're not going to have 20 bosses and one person. No. It's one-on-one. It's a lot simpler. We also had a degree system. So for second degree or less, if you compose a ceremony, it must be brought to the table for discussion by the elders a week ahead of time. So everybody knows what's going on, who's doing what. Prayers and concept of deity is to reflect the writer's concept. For example, if you relate to deity by a certain pantheon, that's okay. If you wish to address deity by certain names, it's okay. It's how you relate that is important, not how someone else relates, because you're the one that's doing the ritual, you're the one that's doing the invocation. Whoever is composing the ceremony has to let others know if it's open or closed. And the words open or closed are, closed means no outsiders, no guests, right? Closed means only certain people, and that's that. Because as you have a degree system, you're going to find people that are not ready for certain things because they have not spiritually progressed to that point. They won't understand it. They won't get it. So what's the point? And then you don't want to have to explain anything. It's an inner working here and an inner progression. Circle preparation is done by the person where the ceremony is to be held. If it's at your house, that means you got to put ant killer down. You got to get the table out there. You got to get the candles. You got to get the display. In other words, it's up to you. And you do the cleanup. And you have the food on the table for afterwards. So that's how we did that. Then we had a book of shadows. The elder must be present at any time that anyone wants to look at the books. The elder may censor what you see. In other words, one member is not allowed to see initiation of higher ranks or high magic. You're not ready. We keep certain information withheld until the proper time and the preparation of the person. Once you're third degree, you can read anything, look at anything. Now, we had a degree system, and what we did is anyone at any time is permitted to petition the elders for elevation to a higher degree no less than 3 months after obtaining a prior degree. For elevation to a higher degree, all requirements must be met for that degree. And we had degree requirements, so you knew what was expected of you to go from one degree to the next. We had open and closed ceremonies. Certain ceremonies are open to coven members according to rank. Samhain was only open to first degree or higher. Then we had what is a member. A member is an initiate into the group with no time requirement who is able to attend all open ceremonies and some closed ceremony, which would be individual magic not raising a cone. A member would be able to attend teaching workshops, mentor working, open Sabbaths, and new moons, except for the initiation of higher ranking closed ceremonies. A member, the closed ceremonies would be determined by the writer, and after 3 months you can petition for first degree. So in other words, you would come into the group as an initiate, you would dedicate, okay, and now you're able to attend all open rituals. That's how that went, and then you can petition for first degree after 3 months. And the elders would vote on this. We had to take a vote. Now these are the degrees for first degree requirements. You had to know the philosophy of the coven. You have to know the ethics and the rules. You have to know the circle and the quarters. You had to know the altar layout. You had to know what is ritual. What? What is the circle etiquette? What are the holidays, the Sabbaths, and the Esbats? What tools do you have? Explain inner, which is a passive meditation, and outer, which is a guided or active meditation. And you had to be able to explain at least 3 forms of divination. That was for first degree, which we thought was doable for a lot of people. Then we have second degree. Second degree was able to compose and perform a ceremony. Explain 2 forms of the healing arts. Herb magic. You had to know 3 herbs and explain the properties and the uses of those 3 herbs. You had to perform a tool consecration and construct a ceremony for it. You had to know the basic astrology for the timing. You had to be at least taught 1 workshop to the group. In other words, you're also teaching. You had to be adept at 1 form of divination. Not, oh, I use a pendulum and I put that down and then I use the No. You had to be adept. That means you've mastered it, okay? You had to have written and officiated at least 1 full moon and 1 Sabbath. And that's the requirement for second degree. Now, the requirements for third degree gets a little tougher. You have to be able to perform and compose a ceremony with little or no notice, just like that. You have to be able to teach ongoing classes because we looked at our coven as education, remember? You're not going to just sit there and do nothing, get together, party, drink wine, and eat. No. Each group has its own mission, so to say. And this was ours. You had to meet all the requirements of first and second degree. You had to have a working knowledge of the energies of the Kabbalah, which is the tree of life, and its application to magic. You must be adept at 1 form of healing. That's a biggie right there. Now, the privileges of third degree are, if you are sought out, you're able to provide spiritual counseling or assessment. You can attend all ceremonies in and out of a coven. That means from coven to coven. You're able to petition for elder status upon the approval of the present elders if there's a vacancy. You're able to hive off. In other words, once you reach third degree, you can hive off the coven, start your own. You can have total access to all the books of shadows. And the book of shadows is guarded by the elders and only certain information is given out, which means first degree can't look at initiation of a higher degree or high magic. And then we also had all degree requirements must be met to be fulfilling of an elder position, and the elders were fixed at 4. So we started with 4 founding members and 4 elders. We came up with rules and guidelines. We came up with what we're doing, when, how, and why, and where. We came up with what is our purpose here. And that is what we did. My cameraman is going to have all of this down below that you can print it. You might want to use this as a guideline, tweak it, change it. But as far as the basics go, make sure that you've got a philosophy. Make sure that you've got a code of ethics so everybody's on the same page. Make sure that you have some kind of etiquette. Remember, if you don't have boundaries of some type, you have chaos. A ritual is done in a ritualistic way. There are certain things that need to be done at certain times, and there's a reason for that. Well, there's a reason for all these other things too. It prevents a lot of fighting. It prevents a lot of hard feelings. You know, otherwise people, I've seen covens of where they blow up all the time, where people come and go, they learn nothing. People actually seeking out magic and spiritual progression, and they're not getting anywhere. It's very frustrating. I remember when I went to one coven, I said, where's the meat? There's potatoes, there's no meat. This particular coven did play acting, which is fine, on holidays and rituals, but there was nothing else to offer. But their philosophy was, we don't do magic together. We do magic individually. We don't do magic together. Our group that we did magic together. You see, so every group is different, but you have to decide what you're doing, who's doing it, and when you're doing it, and why. And then you circumvent any problems. If you have any comments, if you've been in a coven and you've had some horrible experiences, let me know. If you've had good experiences, let me know. If you're thinking of starting one, let me know, okay? If you have any comments about this, let me know. Good or bad, thumbs up, thumbs down. This is, like I said, more in depth of what I did and what my group did and what we did. and it seemed to work out just fine. We didn't have a lot of problems. We had a lot of people come in as initiates, and right before first degree, they decided to leave. No hard feelings. See, you know what's expected of you when you came into our group. You knew what we were about. There was nothing hidden, nothing changed. The goalposts weren't moved all the time, right? So it might be a good starting point for you, or if you want to use it, go ahead. This took us 6 months to formulate before we even went out into a circle. 6 months of arguing, and it's okay that we argued because we got everyone's perspective. You see, we got everyone's viewpoint. It took us 6 months to come to this agreement of what I just told you, and it was well worth the time and the trouble, and we survived it. So if you can survive this, you can survive being in a group. So thank you very much for that question, whoever put that down in the comments. I hope this has helped you. Please give a thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe, and also check out all the other social media platforms. And if you need to get in touch with me, you can give me a holler, 239-939-2769. Happy witching, you guys.